UCI rule changes, they came into effect April 1st, banned the supertuck, banned littering. It's been a bit of a spotty rollout. I don't know. I haven't heard anybody be actually happy about it. We've seen riders push back on the littering. Littering is a harsh term for what we're talking about. It's throwing bottles to fans on the roadside. I'm not entirely sure that's the best thing to be doing during a pandemic, germs and all. But in general, throwing bottles to fans on the roadside, it's just a part of European cycling, and the riders like it, the fans like it. It's convenient for the riders, and the fans really do treasure those souvenirs. So the UCI have backtracked a little bit on this litter ruling. Now, instead of an immediate disqualification, which we saw happen to Michael Schär at, Tour of Flanders, Amstel Gold Race, one of those classics, Gregor. They're all blending together right now. Michael Schär was booted without a warning. Now, winner of Liege-Bastogne-Liege, Demi Vollering, we saw her throw a bottle with 9.1 kilometers to go out of the lead group. It bounced off the median, ricocheted back. Elisa Longo-Borghini had to take evasive measures. I'm just saying, the UCI, they can't disqualify winners. I don't think that they have it in them. They are really, really playing with fire here with these really unpopular rules that have come out. Demi Vollering, of course, went on to win Liege-Bastogne-Liege, and the way the rules were written a couple weeks ago, she could have been disqualified for that offense. We saw this happen again at the end of the Tour of Flanders. Keep in mind, Michael Schär was ejected from that race for throwing a bottle, but Mathieu van der Poel and Casper Asgreen both tossed off their bottles with about 2 kilometers to go. They went on to get first and second. UCI stayed quiet about that infraction. So now UCI, they are giving warnings. Demi Vollering, what was her punishment, Gregor? She was given a 250 Swiss franc fine and docked 15 UCI points for tossing that bottle with 9K to go instead of being disqualified. Another rider was DQ'd though, Gregor.
Yes, Michael. So 250 francs for Vollering there, and that ricochet bottle flying around reminded me of the Seinfeld Magic Loogie Theory episode. If anybody hasn't seen that one, it's a good one to watch. But it was not a loogie; it was a bottle. And for the men's side, a super tuck. The riders are trying to get it through their head. So for so many of these riders, it's natural to get down there set on the top tube when they're trying to go as fast as possible downhill. Richard Carapaz did it for a handful of seconds. Again, Michael, I'm going to rely on you for the math. You'll explain how many seconds. But we got in today from the race organizer, the UCI communique, 1,000 Swiss francs for Carapaz. They docked him some UCI points. I don't think he'll care too much about that. 1,000 Swiss francs, and they DQ'd him from the race classification. So if you look on the website, you'll see him there at the lower end, at the bottom end of the results. And could you imagine had he won the race? I mean, this would have been massive. Had he won the race, they would have set him back to the back, and we would have had a different winner in that case.
I don't think they would have done it. I don't think they would have had the guts to disqualify him if he had stayed off solo. Keep in mind, Carapaz was solo off the front. If you want to compare this to Demi Vollering's bottle throw, what Vollering did was much more dangerous. She was not disqualified. Carapaz was disqualified, though. Again, I don't think he would have been had he won. So Carapaz went into it wasn't even a super tuck. He had his hands in the drops. Very, very controlled, just kind of like butt off the saddle. I would call it a soft tuck, a mild tuck, not a super tuck. But whatever the case, it was an illegal position according to the UCI. He was in that position for 5 seconds. I counted it. 5 seconds. By my math, that probably saved him about 0.2 of a kilojoule, and if I'm being generous, about a second over the chasing pack. So for that, he was disqualified.
Yeah, Michael.
It infuriates me. What the UCI have done is they have taken the best bicycle racers in the world and then told them that they can't race their bikes as well as they're capable of. It's so stupid. It's like putting a speed governor on an F1 car.
Well, my feelings on this, Michael. Just as riders have these other rules that they have to follow. This is one of the new rules they have to follow, and they're going to have to learn the rule. And we talked about this before. This is the rule. They have to follow it. The same with throwing out the bottles. I'm sorry, but we have races that go through some rule areas, and if we don't have a rule in place, what is tossing a bottle to a fan versus tossing something else out of your pocket? We just have to have these rules in place, and it goes with supertuck as well. And this thing holding back Carapaz, fining him as well, that'll send a message out to everybody else that the supertuck is dead.
I don't know. I think that people got to bring back the supertuck. I personally hate it. Here's my prediction, actually. If you're like a Mark Hirschi type who we saw last year off the front at the Tour de France, who is winning races by being solo, which allows you to take a couple more risks, get more speed through corners on descents. If you're Mark Hirschi, what are you doing? How are you going to win a stage of the Tour de France solo? Does the UCI just want bunch finishes? I think that people are going to start rocking up to stages that they are targeting for solo breakaway escapes with dropper posts. That is the reasonable next step. I guess maybe that's exciting for bicycle manufacturers, is that they're going to be able to come up with clever ways to circumvent these rules, put riders in more aerodynamic positions while keeping their sit bones on the saddle, keeping their hands on the bars. But I don't know. I think it's taking away a little bit of the soul of bike racing. Definitely taking away the ability for riders to showcase their solo escape abilities, which is, again, we saw Matej Mohoric caught out, looked like he was trying to do a similar bridge to what he did last year at Liege-Bastogne-Liege, but you just can't do it if you're solo, and you can't utilize these more aerodynamic positions. It's mathematically, Matej Mohoric riding as hard as he can by himself, chasing the 5 best cyclists in the world. It isn't going to work unless he can eke out those advantages in the corners on the descents, like solo riders have usually been able to do.
Well, yeah, and we also saw Fuglsang try to get off the front there in the final Liège too, and I'm sure he would have benefited from being able to super tuck. For now, it's going to be a pain in the tail end for these guys, because we see them, putting the very backside of their body, holding it to the saddle. We saw Max Schachmann doing that in Amstel Gold as well. But that's the limit. That's how far they can go before they get into what's the UCI and everybody else is calling a super tuck. Michael, I was doing a bit of research on Twitter earlier today, and people are saying they're siding with me, at least my followers, and saying, yes, we have this rule, we got to follow it now. And also, our viewers can let us know, but we think the first time the super tuck came around was either Marcel Kittel or it was Mohoric himself in the to help me out here. I think it was maybe 2013 World Championships here in Florence, under 23 World Championships that he won, but you have to look up the date on that. But that could have been the first time that the supertuck was born, but now it's dead.
I'm not happy about it, Gregor. I'm not happy. It's going to be a developing story, and as riders continue to run into issues with the UCI around these regulations, we'll continue to talk about it. I am sure I will continue to side with the riders. The drama continues.